through these exercises, these information boards are available for you to refer to. Okay, so this is a simple survey. It's crafted around those 3 focus areas that are in the memo, which are craft your community, preserve and prosper, and strategic service. Strategic service might be one that, you all are a little more tuned into than some of the other boards. So as you go through that, if you have any questions, if you want to look through this and discuss a little amongst yourself today, we can do that. Otherwise, you can email me. I gave you my card. And I will be sending you this whole packet as a board just so you can have it. You can zoom in on maps and things like that because sometimes it's hard to see a printout. I'm going to send that to you, but just email me, not the rest of the group, but if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those. So exercise 1, written survey. Exercise 2, and I don't have them, but you do. This is the fun one. This one has stickers.
Woohoo.
Yeah, I know. Everybody loves us. And we're only using stickers for this one, but we've had several board members turn it in with stickers all over everything. So it's kind of funny. But we divided the city up into 5 areas, and I'm just going to briefly touch on what they are. Area 1 is mainly west of the bayous and south of Mears Boulevard. A lot of single-family, subdivisions, neighborhoods, that type of development there now. Area 2, north of the river. Kind of a hodgepodge of incorporated and unincorporated. It's a lot of industrial up there, those sorts of things. 3 is downtown, and I call Old Uptown, in the core of the city. A lot of older plats, older homes. Your historic districts are there. Obviously, downtown and the sponge docks are in number 3. Number 4 is a corridor, the US 19 corridor, and number 5 is east of 19, which is, I don't know. I think it might be the red, does anybody live east of 19? I think it might be the red-headed stepchild, because I get from boards, east of 19. But they are part of the city. So what we'd like you to do is take the stickers, which are these types of residential and commercial products, if you will. So this is just a general exercise, and following that sheet is each area, so you can use the stickers on a large area. You can write on these, you can make notes, however you want to do this. But we'd like to see where you would be comfortable or where you think you might be comfortable with some of these housing types and commercial types in these different areas. You don't have to put the sticker, try to get it exactly in the neighborhood, that you think it should be. Well, I think it should be here, but not here. You can make notes to explain your sticker if you want to. Any of these housing types or commercial types, if you have any questions about what they are, I'll be glad to answer those, or you can email me about what those are. Okay, so that's the second exercise. All right, third exercise is on transportation mapping. Walking, biking, and transit. This one, what we were looking for is, well, let me just tell you what the first 2 sheets are. The first one shows existing sidewalks, bike lanes, and roadways, basically. Pinellas Trail, transit routes are on here too. PSTA and loop around and the Jolly Trolley, basically, is what we've got for transit. Where it says proposed trails, those are actually proposed in your current comprehensive plan. And that plan is, I want to say that was like the maybe 2007, 2008 range. So that's what's in the plan now from that long ago when this was last looked at. So that's an illustration of that, and showing where the schools are. And then this next one is DOT data. And I think this is from Forward Pinellas, and it probably says the years here, but this is recent data on accidents, crashes, and the number of injuries, kind of the concentration of where crashes are. So that one's pretty visual. You can see 19 is, of course, very purple.
Avoid it.
Right. And then the third one, this is more information on what's in our plan now. Well, it's got the current transit routes. It's got some of the multimodal district is that 2014, 2015 timeframe document that's in our plan right now. So that's more information. So starting on the next 3 sheets, you've got your exercise. First is walking, then biking, then transit, I think. Let me see. Make sure, yeah. So what we'd like you to do on this one is just to write on it, put a number, like number 1, and then on the back of the sheet, you'll see there's a big sheet to write on, just next to number 1. You would write your comment about it. I think there needs to be a connection here, or, you know, even down to these sidewalks really need rehabilitation or whatever. Now, some people aren't real sure about the specifics of the area. Even if you stick a number, you know, right in the middle here and say, I think there needs to be a really way better connection between downtown and Tarpon Springs High School for bikes or walking or whatever, you know, you're looking for. We'll get the message if you can explain it in your notes. Okay, so walking, and then bicycle connections on the next one, and transit on the third one. That's that exercise. So are there any questions on that one?
I just have an overall question, but I can wait till the end.
Okay, I'm pretty much at the end. We're looking to get these back, hopefully by the end of next week.
End of next
You
week.
can, and we need to have your name at the top of each exercise. There's a spot for you to do that on the front. And if you could return these, if you need more time, let us know, but we're looking toward the end of next week. You can just bring them in, put them in the planning and zoning box in the lobby, or call us, let us know you're coming, we'll pick them up, you know, in the lobby from you, or however you want to do that. So do you have any questions overall on what we're looking for?
I do.
Okay.
Anybody want to go first? Okay, so to help us decide, because there's kind of considerable activity and forethought here, I wonder if you could just give us a high-level background on our future needs. And I want to preface that to say, from the meeting that you invited us to previously, that that 3 of us attended the comprehensive plan. If I recall right, we're running low on space that we can kind of develop as new, and we have many people moving here, but we don't have many locations for kind of our average income level to support healthcare workers, public, you know, just people that live and work here,
Yeah.
if I recall. But so could you give an overview on kind of the needs that you see and going?
Sure. Basically, you know, the city is pretty well developed. The Bureau of Economic Business Research, the organization that does population projections, they do projections, you know, every 5 years or so, and right now their projection is 5,000 more people will move to Tarpon by 2040-ish.
And do we know, are they like going to work in the city, or are they generally, do they give any other background on those numbers?
They don't.
Okay.
No, that's just a population projection. All they use on that is past population growth and some other factors. They'll use some of the Schimberg housing data and different things like that. So last time around, it was like 2.3 persons per household. So whatever that is, doing math, I don't know, 2,800, less than 3,000 households, right? So it could be that, could be more than that, could be less than that. So the state requires us to plan for that number. That's kind of the technical part. We see, so the second part of that is the density assigned in the city to, under the current future land use map can way more than accommodate that number. Just the numbers on the map, we don't need to upzone really a lot of property in the city to reach that number because we're built largely below the assigned density right now. Okay, there's a lot of single family and that sort of thing. So what we're looking for is if you were going to infill, that's one of the things we're looking for, and that's what this exercise 2 is called, is infill development types. Accessory dwelling units, we get calls on that all the time, and we do allow them. We're a little bit probably restrictive on our standards for accessory dwelling units. Maybe that's something we want to expand on, things like that. You know, a duplex in a single-family neighborhood. Here you've got one called a paired villa, which is a nice duplex. Would that be something, you know, for infill purposes you would be looking? And that kind of gets to your third part of your question of what the planners call the missing middle housing product. Yeah. That somebody like me or a nursing professional or a teacher or a police officer can afford to purchase and stay here. That's something that we are looking to deal with in the comprehensive plan. And as you guys know and probably have heard, there's a high demand for apartments, and that's statewide. There was a recent article I read about apartments being a major push right now, because that's part of the reason is to, you know, get some of this middle housing or affordable type of housing, and just some housing, you know, for workers, for the workforce. So yeah, we are looking to do that, and we're interested in everybody's idea of where that should go, what it should look like, especially with the infill exercise.
And you call that middle, what'd you call that?
Missing middle.
Missing
housing.
middle.
Yeah, as opposed to like affordable by law, and we do have affordable housing that has to meet a certain level of median income. That's more the well, it's the affordable. It's a little bit lower than missing middle.
In Pinellas County economic development circles, they refer to workforce housing a lot. Is this the same? Are you referring to kind of the same
Yeah.
thing? So, because they're differentiating from affordable, which implies like a Section 8 kind of situation or something.
Yeah.
They're calling it workforce housing. So this missing middle is kind of that idea.
What it's
Okay.
aimed at.
And if I recall also from that session, they were talking about, or the planner was saying that you could have multiple units in a location, but from the street view, like this fourplex, it sort of looks like it's its own
Yeah,
neat looking standalone house or something, but then you
Yeah.
get 4 units in there.
and that fourplex is a picture in Tarpon in the historic district.
Okay.
So that gives you an idea. The townhome is from Tarpon, that picture. So a couple of these, yeah, come from stuff we have now. Okay. You know, the cottage court, that picture's not from Tarpon, but we have one over off of, Gross and Boyer or Lime or something. It's, if you drive by, it's the one with the little different color. That's a cottage court. You go in there, there's houses, you know, I don't know, 6 or 7 houses in a little court. It's a private piece of property. It's not a city street. So we do have that. But, so there's all kind of things you can do. Any other questions?
I kind of do. I mean, I don't know if this is appropriate here, but when you're talking about filling out the walking trails and all of that, I walk a lot.
Okay.
And in Tarpon, sidewalks start on one side and stop, and then you have to cross the street to stay on a sidewalk to the other.
Yeah.
And I find that not good.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking for on ones that are specific. Now, if you know, this one was kind of hard, and I don't think I've sent it, well, this was drawn from a GIS map of the sidewalks in the city. And when I send it to you, you can zoom in, but you might notice that some of them look like double and some look like single lines. The sidewalks are actually mapped on the sides of the street. I'm not sure, Pinellas County actually does this. I'm not sure it's up to date to, right now today. We had a couple of sidewalks installed earlier this year. I know we had some sidewalks installed around the city, so I'm not sure those are captured, but that's the kind of information we want. On this street, you need to extend the sidewalk. And as you all know, we have a sidewalk program in the budget, and we do have a list of sites. So that's the kind of input that we're looking for, is to maybe refine that list and, look at our 5-year and 10-year and our 20-year plan on capital improvements to get that in a comprehensive plan. And then you'd budget for it each single year. Go back and revisit those priorities. So, any other questions? All right. You guys are really on the ball with this. Yeah.
Thank you, Pat.
I mean, nothing against our other boards. You guys are great. Thank you very much for
Thank you
your
so much.
time.
Thank you. We can all stay till 10 o'clock tonight working on it.
I've got nothing else to do.
Email. You sent this out on email.
You're gonna get it on email. You're gonna s-
Well, Caroline is sick today. Our other principal planner, Caroline Langford, she was gonna do this. She's sick today, and she may have sent it to you. I couldn't find it, so.
Just make sure she did or something, you send it to him.
I was gonna follow up, but I'll just go ahead and follow up. I've got your email from Michelle. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for moving staff comments out, because they're swamped down there in planning, so I didn't want her to wait to the end. I wanted
Free.
to,
You're free.
I wanted to get her back.
Unless you
I wanted to
really
get you
wanna
back to
listen.
work.
Okay. All right, I'm going.
Okay, so are there any other changes in the agenda, or are we going to?
No, just moving that staff comment up to the front to.
Good. So next we have review and discussion, Board of Commissioners budget work session 2 days ago.
I'll start. So the good news for us is, the first item of that meeting was to take 7 of the departments, almost exactly like you had in here, to come in and have the board ask questions. And some of the board mentioned they had watched the budget advisory meetings and stuff and knew that went way ahead of schedule. It's a good thing, because I don't think we'd have got as far as number 2 when we get to number 2, but number 1, just, y'all did a great job, because some of them Paul Smith was the first one, and he has 14 departments, or however many departments he had, and he was done in less than 10 minutes, because they thought everything had been thoroughly vetted. In fact, some of the questions aren't even kind of related, but some they want to ask. But every department went down the line, and again, thank goodness, because of item 2, they did those 7 departments and really did them pretty fast. We've got the other 7 going next Thursday, a week from today. So the portion that you helped us with tremendously and stuff, the board just flew through those, and we're satisfied you did the job on those different. We gave them the sheet of the things that were higher in budget. We gave them all the information that we gave you to show what you reviewed on there. So that part went well. The big document you got was the beginning of number 2. And number 2 is their chore of not only setting the budget for this year, but to set the budget on a list of projects going to probably be needed to fund over the next 5 to 10 years. Immediately dealing with the ones we can do in the next 5 years. One, because of the influx of Arpa money, so we've got a source of money we don't have, but we also need to slot ahead of what years and what we're going to do. So there's a whole bunch of projects. For us, there's a tremendous amount of money, but it's still there's a shortfall and they have to go. So this document that Ron did has kind of a worksheet, and we consider a lot of these things as worksheets documents. It kind of lays all of the things out there where you see in the first column in green, adjusted proposals for ARPA. Staff went ahead and did what their recommendation to get the discussion started instead of telling them, here's all this thing slotted. From a staff perspective, we want to get you started. What if we had to make a decision, this is probably what we would fund. And we have what's funded by ARPA. We have columns in there of some other funding that we want to use to fund these things. We have a column where we think the project is right for a grant. It meets a lot of the criteria of what the present day grants are. Any project with sustainability, with converting septic to sewer, any of those things, the federal and the state grants are tremendous on that. So we took it out of the equation of you have to fund it now and put where you see the grant funding. There's only a couple of them's already been, because a couple of the grants we've gotten this time, but most of them are the potential for us to go out and for us to seek grant in those areas. And the reason we pulled them was we think they have a higher, I won't say high, some said, well, you said they had a high probability. Not a high probability, but a higher. We know some of these things in this column, we got zero chance to get a grant. They're not writing grants for those things. So there's no chance. But there's some things that we're seeing the trend over last year and this year, and we think is going to continue. We see what they're giving cities and counties and stuff, what grant for. So instead of committing ARPA money, we think we've got at least a good shot or better shot to go out there, and we have been successful. We try to tell people, even the people who say we're so deficient we don't have a grant writer, to go to our place on the city website, look at our grants that we've achieved, and then tell me. In fact, our problem is we're gaining. You put out 10 grants to hope to get 2 of them maybe. Well, we're getting 4, 5, or 6. You have to manage those projects that you get grants for. If you get a lot of them, it's a lot more management and stuff. We're almost to the point where we're getting to a limit of managing the projects that we're gaining grants for. Planning just got another one over the other day, Tuesday, for a study of the historical, finding historical designations of property in the Union Academy. It was an African American history grant, and it's to plot and try to recover some of the history in the Union Academy neighborhood, and especially places that have been torn down and that stuff. It was a grant that I think around the country 660 people put in for. They only awarded 30 some odd or 40, and we were one of the 40 out of 660 that got that $50,000 grant. So that's what that grant column means. We think the board can wait a little bit for this project because we're going to be putting in grants for that area. The state just got a new, the governor put a big pot of money again for the resiliency type projects and stuff. So that's why we think we can apply for those.
Hey,
So
Mark,
it's
just one quick
yeah.
question about grant. Normally, how long does it take to get an answer? Ballpark, yes or no?
they all differ tremendously.
You're gonna say that, but is there?
Remember, when I'm saying grants, it's also state or federal appropriations. For
Okay.
instance, the grant we got to do the vault, the 1.7 million, to do the vault project for the flooding at the sponge docks that we got from the state. Was that state or federal? State budget. That took us 2 cycles, or
Yeah, I believe it was about that, yeah.
about a year and a half or so it took us
Okay.
for that one. The one we just got from Congressman Bill Arack is a federal one we still got one final cut to go. They could always at the end of the budget wipe it out, but it's made the tough cuts. That one we got within 2 months, and we asked for $4 million and we got $2 million. That one only lasted 2 months before the congressman told us. I put it in and they've accepted it. So it runs the gamut. This library grant that we've done a couple, I think from the meeting there, we talked about maybe we've tried for the grant a couple of years. I think they're going to want to try one more, but we've tried for the library grant for 2 years. My reason that I put it on maybe a consideration for ARPA funds is because last year, the recent one that just awarded, 0 libraries got the grant. So to me, the chances of getting that grant next year, if this year's grant zero was funded by the state. I don't say didn't get the grant. There was 0 funding from the state to give these grants. I didn't hold that as high, so I moved it. I think the board's indication, again, this is preliminary, we got at least 1 or 2 more meetings. That'll probably be one that moves to the grant list for us to try, because in fact, Tuesday night, we have to do a resolution that we want to roll over the grant and try for the money in this upcoming cycle. So we're going to do that anyway, just because, you know, we're going to do it to stay in the running. Our chances of getting it, I'm not sure of. So we just tried to lay out and we got more work to do. This was just a preliminary start. Ron is searching for other fundings and stuff to do. But the trick is you as a board have to decide these things, decide where they're slotted. And you're not just doing a budget for 1 year. This is going to set the course for the next 5 to 7 years. So you have a big responsibility. So I just wanted to show you we're coming back. We're coming back on Thursday night and revise. We heard all the input from Tuesday night. If you decide to look at the video, look at the play of it and stuff, we'll come back with some completely updates from this, which we will send to all of you. Again, and we'll gear and probably we've got another meeting in early August, probably before the August meeting here. So what I'm planning for, we'll be sending that to you, but we'll be looking as you're asked for input or anything. We'll keep you up to date so you can look at all these things in case there's something at the August meeting, if there's a recommendation or something you need to look at or you endorse where we are or something. We're going to try to keep you updated in the next month. Where these meetings are going and where that goes. That took the rest of the time that night, the rest of the 3 hours, but it was a good discussion because again, that's the only place we can talk to all 5 of them together. I mean, that's the only place we can talk to them. Just like the only place we can talk to all you together is here. We can't talk to you all together when we leave here. Ron, you want to go over some of the?
This was a great idea, because if you didn't start from a base like this, that meeting could have gone all 92 different directions. You know, if you just threw it out and said, so what do you want to do? This at least starts it, first draft, and then they fine tune it, get some direction. Very good.
The other pack is, I think maybe, I want you to do it because maybe you've given it to this board in the past. We want to see it. These items here, you've got this packet of, besides the big map. I know some of them are new. I don't know. I think you received the first document, the Capital Improvement Program Project Summary. Have you given that to them before?
This one here?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, they've gotten this one here.
Okay.
They're basically just going over all the current, 5-6 year CIP that we have currently in the budget for projects. 2022, I'm looking at this report here, and so what the current projects are for fiscal year 2022, and just mapping them out for the next, through 2027 is what this document is doing.
The next document you got, he didn't do. He helped me with the money. It was just a worksheet for the board. It was a worksheet. It showed all the funds and the money availability, and just to give them a look of what some decision makings, and the other thing of ARPA, the $638,000 in general fund that's not committed, the $2,268,000 of penny that's not committed, and that's the column, the penny column on the blue on your face, and the CRA not committed. We also gave it to them for 2003-24 and 2003-24 and
Yeah, the following couple of years.
in the following 2 years, just so if they were thinking of moving things down the line, they can see. Again, these were just worksheets to see where the money is. You want to make, and of course, the last page is here's the amount of ARPA funds. Kind of just a cheat sheet of the chart you have of the availability of funds you have to dedicate. The next one was the position priorities, not currently budget. As I explained them, these are not positions that I'm recommending, but that if you asked me from last year's exercise and you had all the departments, if you could see in the future 1 to 3 years, what positions will we like in the future? They did that list last year. So out of that list, if you were going to fund positions, these are the positions that would be, if we had to rank ones to fund. We're not recommending they all be funded, or in fact, if any, we're just telling this board, because some of them came from the board thinking the board was having, we need more, public works, we need more public works, and obviously we do. You just got to remember the cost of the recurring cost. Yes, if you don't like how fast we're going, although we're moving along, but we don't move as fast as they want. If we had 2 more people, we could move faster, but then you got to weigh that and the recurring cost but you got to weigh that. I told them that the police officers were in there, not the fire, because I think we got a very, very high chance of getting 3 funded positions from the county of county funding, because we're just at the numbers and statistics that would lead the county to give us the money. So I am thinking those positions the fire asked for, because we were just off getting them now, just the recent one.
And those are permanent funding,
Yes,
not for 3 years?
No, that's not the SAFER grant. That's another grant they're looking for as an alternative. These are fully funded forever. In fact, how I know it is, they gave us the truck. They're paying for the medical unit, which is a lot. They're giving to that as head. They wouldn't give us that truck if they didn't think they were going to be funding 3 positions to man that truck next year. So if you have a public safety concern, which you've exhibited, and you want to do a budget one, you would need to do the police side, because I think you're going to be seeing the 3 firefighters most fully funded by the county. I think you're going to see that coming up. So that would be a priority. And then, of course, the biggest one last year was the grant writer position. And all we told them was that you can't just give us a person who sits and writes the grants. If you want to go out, you have to give us a higher level person, because it has to be a person who can write the grants, and then when they come in, administer the grants and see that they're carried through and do the paperwork, because we're just overwhelmed right now. Some people out there can just write grants. Some people can just administrate the projects that come for it. We need you to go a higher scale of salary, and we need somebody who can do both, because right now we're at our limit or almost over the limit, so they can't just write and get us more grants. We have to have somebody to all the forms. So if you're going to do that, you got to give us that person.
That's the discussion we had.
Yes.
Because Mark's up there talking about a grant writer, and I was under the impression, we do a pretty good job. Then we had a discussion. It's not only writing the grant, it's the follow-up work.
Well, in fact, if they didn't if it wasn't for the sustainability person, they thought they needed more last year, they'd have remember the output from the citizens, which wasn't based on any true knowledge. The citizens were beaming for some of the other board members were just going that you have to have a grant writer, you're losing. That was the big push from the public, and the commission almost had it bought. I said, I try to tell you, asked me to plot these things. The evidence is, go look and tell us if we're deficient. Sure, we could use one, but are we really deficient now we are so successful we're, doing backflips, because we are very successful of doing it with ourselves. We've got a consultant to help us if we need. A lot of these, if you know the field you're in, you can write. There's not any magic to it. If you know the field and you know what agency is given the grants, and you look and see what have these agencies given past grant monies for, okay, they like things that have A, B, and C in it. We got to make sure in our grant we have A, B, and C, and we do that. So positions didn't come up Tuesday night. They may come up Thursday, or they may not come up to the 3rd meeting. But that, to show you, that's going to come up at one of the next meetings with them to see what their direction is. Now, they see all the other monies that go, and of course, if that money comes in, that comes out of that column for general fund, because most of them, except you'll see on there's one Ron did out, some comes out of the salary, comes out of stormwater, and other ones, most of them are general fund. So that was just given to them, but they didn't address it. But I gave it to you because you may see it in the future. The next one is so far 3 citizens initiatives that's come forward to ask them for money that, you know, if you're gonna do them, you have to slot them in here. That's just for information. There may be other ones coming forward, but it's just the three and the backup for that we gave to them.
You know, I was going to mention, on the fire positions, I don't know,
Right.
Mark, it's based on call volume.
I was going
Last
to
year-
ask you, what was that
It's-
limit?
Last year, we didn't meet it. This year, we are. We're over the number 10. We're 11 point something so far this year. So if we maintain that, next year at this time, we'll probably be talking about, yes, we met that qualification, we'll get those.
And what, we were still like
Annual,
9.7?
annual call,
You were
is that annual,
9 something.
monthly, or
Daily calls,
daily call?
yeah. They're-
Wow.
So it looks like we're over it so far this year, if it keeps going the way it is.
Let me know, put in a few calls. Oh, that's, they get called 11 times a day?
Yes.
Wow.
The next one is just some ARPA refunding requests. We rehashed and put in the staff recommendations. We had a request from the hospital, and the sustainability made some requests for the budget. That's just information. They haven't dealt with any of those yet at the first meeting, so that'll probably be the future. The last thing are potential property purchases. And we do, if you have a pen on the third one, the Stamus property, that's the property where we do the dredging, where we have the dredging and the place that we do there. And the thought was that every 15 years, we keep needing a place. Our responsibility as a city is to provide the dredge location. There aren't that many of them. In fact, if we didn't have this one again from 15 years ago or 16 years ago, if that wasn't still available, we were gonna be hard pressed to find a place. So maybe the city should just buy the land and do it. Maybe, we need to see what the cost is. Well, that just came in this week, and that appraisal for that is 3.2 million. So you can plug that number in there, 3.2. It's not necessary that we have to buy all of the property there, so that's not the number we may need if the board broaches that. But we know if,
Property again, Mark?
by the fire state, out by the,
Water plant, right?
water plant, and new fire station and water plant on. And it's good because it's got a stream to take the water to the river. It's, you know, where they dump it and drain and do all the stuff to the you just can't put a fill site where you're taking all the stuff you dredge and just stick it somewhere. It has to meet a whole bunch of criteria. There's very little places. Most of them are on the other side of the river, but most of them were gone from 15 years ago. Luckily, this property where we did it before and it worked was still there. But again, that's their considerations. If you're gonna, the Ross property, the first one, is a very essential property off Florida Avenue, that if we have control of that property, the stormwater and flooding probably from Mears to whatever that county road is where you end Florida Avenue and go left to go out to there, that stretch, this is a major stormwater. If we had control of this land to assist the flooding out on Florida Avenue, South Florida Avenue, like from Mears to where you turn to get back to Klosterman Road. It's called the Ross property because Henry Ross has the house that you can hardly see because it's got a lot of trees and stuff blocking it. But behind this property controls that whole area, and we've had to get permission when we've tried to do some improvements. We've had to go through and get permissions from him to go on there and try to do something, which hasn't been easy in the last years to do. But luckily now he's selling it and he doesn't want people to put homes there. So he is, despite our differences in the past of cooperation, you know, he's offered it up to the city. And we're in the process of getting an appraisal now. That would be probably some from stormwater, some combination. But again, the flooding of those streets that are there and stuff, if we go in there and really make some stormwater improvements, that's going to be big for that area of flooding. So that's the Kokoris Park area is a place that we had for a park for 30 years. We had a lease for 30 years. When the lease was up 10 or however many years ago, it sat. It's a piece of land with zero density, so you can't build on it. We have tried for 10 or 12 years to try to get that back and to put it back into a park for down there because there's good green space for the docks. So we're back into it's going out for, it's out for appraisal also, so we're gonna see if, if he's of agreement to sell now, and if he is, again, that's something that has to be added to this whole list of stuff to fund somewhere, if they want to add green space and add that park back to the Sponge Docks area, then to do it and stuff. So again, it's still some of the plug-in things for this big document you got.
Yeah.
You have to take into consideration for funding, what you're gonna do. So we just wanted to give you the packet that we've given the commission so far, and their jobs to do it, and we will keep you updated again on Thursday's meeting. And if we go, which I think we're going to go to a third meeting, it was scheduled for August 11th, but we have two of the commissioners at the Florida League of Cities Conference, so we got to move it for the 11th. Hopefully, I can get the date before our next advisory meeting, which is, when is the August? I'm going to try to get a day before there so I can bring you up to date. I can bring you that information from there.
19th.
19th.
I'm sorry, 18th,
Okay.
August
So
18th.
the next meeting with the board, mayor and the commissioners,
Week from today, next Thursday night.
6:30?
So, Ron, you have something to add?
Well, I just didn't know if you wanted me to just briefly try to go over this spreadsheet and just go over some highlights of it. I mean, where we are with ARPA right now, we still have just half the money, 6.4 million.
Right.
The other half is supposed to, they said 1 year later, we got the first money September 15th last year. We're supposed to get the other 6.4 million this September 15th. I've got it on my calendar. I've got it marked. I'm waiting for it.
You
I've already
wouldn't be
heard
disappointed
I've
if it
already heard
came
the
on the
states has
16th.
the money. When I was at a conference, they say the state's got the money, but then when the ARPA rules, it says, well, you won't get the money any earlier than 1 year. And I go, okay, the state's holding on to our money, getting interest earnings, so that bothers me. So far, it's still, for 5 projects approved by the board, if you, at the top left there, the South Springs Whitcomb, 94,000, which is ongoing. We got the roof chiller on the public safety building, 900,000. We still don't, we're thinking that's gonna be a little bit more now. That's maybe another $300,000 more. We still get the final numbers on that. So that may be 1.2 million on that public safety building roof chiller. The mental health for public safety employees, that's a 48,000. Bay Shore septic to sewer, it was approved at 1 million. We're thinking another estimate of another 300,000 for 1.3 million. And then the citywide advertising marketing of $100,000. Those are the 5 projects that have been approved by the board so far. And that's why we're trying to give them this list and say, okay, what else? This is what the departments and the city manager come up and said, these are some projects out here. Starting with the Craig Park seawall, 5.1 million. Coming out of ARPA, almost 3.2 million. The other one's a $2 million grant, which looks like we're good with that grant. It's gonna be approved. Cybersecurity, $2 million, 1 million coming out of ARPA, 1 million coming out of Water and Sewer Fund. Since it's related to the water plant and the sewage treatment plant and the security out there. The fire station, we got to split between design, $1 million, and the actual construction, 5.5 million. So to $6.5 million of building the fire station. This is the one, Station 70 out there by the cell tower out there near it's just down from the high school there. In fact, it's not going to go there. We've got a lot, about 2 lots down that the city purchased where the new fire station would go. So we've got, about 3.2 million coming out, 3.1 million coming out of ARPA is what we proposed. 720,000 is cell tower money. From that cell tower, when they did the exclusive easement, so they paid the 720,000. We've got that money sitting in the general fund reserves. And 650,000 would come from the county. The county, for all our fire expenses, reimburses us 10%. They pay that based on the area outside the city limits that's still in the fire district that the city department, the fire department covers, and it's about a 10%. The balance, 2 million, we had planned coming out of the penny fund in fiscal years 23 and fiscal years 24. The cops and kids, 3.9 million. There's a potential for a grant for 3.9 million on that. The potable water lines, $1 million, 1.5 million, 1 million coming out of ARPA, and 500,000 coming out of water impact fees. Septic to sewer, South Florida, $3 million. and so far a potential grant for $3 million. Hurricane hardening of the community center, $2.5 million, and another grant potential of the $2.5 million for the hurricane hardening of the community center. River and bayou dredging, $1.1 million, and we've got that coming out of the penny in 2024. Stormwater Highline and Vista, almost $1.2 million, and again, another potential grant for $1.2 million. Same with stormwater for Distant Center Street, a little over $1 million, and a potential for a grant to cover that one. The theater upgrades, $100,000. We're planning on putting that into the 2023 penny budget. Library improvements, $1 million, $500,000 out of ARPA. The balance, we've got money already. We've got $400,000 in library impact fund and $100,000 in donations. And I'll mention, this is the one from Tuesday night that the board says that of the $500,000 ARPA, they didn't seem like they wanted to put the $5,000 come out of ARPA for that $500,000. Heritage Museum, the Christopher Still Project, $90,000. We're going to budget that out of the penny this 2023. And the next two projects, $300,000 each, that's the extra additional money for the projects that are already approved for the public safety building roof up above there on the sheet and the septic to sewer project. Then Beckett Bridge, $2 million, $728,000 coming out of ARPA. We've already got $834,000 budgeted. We're gonna add another $500,000 out of the water and sewer fund for that. $1.1 million for Lemon Shattuck, and we've got that budget $450,000 this current year, and putting in $650,000 from the penny next year. And then the Sponge Docks pump, that's the Sponge Docks Flood Abatement Program. We've already got the grant for $1.7 million. We've got $761,000 in the penny now, and we're looking for a little over $1 million out of ARPA. And I just wanted to mention, I tried to take notes from the commission meeting, as far as the commissioners and stuff, and a little cheat sheet here. But five was the hospital. All five of them mentioned it sounded like they wanted to do something for the hospital. Either, I think, the awning, the roof, one of those items. They're both $1 million each. Three of them talked about the fire station and the need to replace that. It's a 50-year-old building. It's in rough shape, from what I understand. I think from what I hear, sometimes it was helped built by city crews and stuff when they built that building and stuff. Craig Park was talked about by a couple of them. That's the seawall there going along Craig Park. And then we found out the seawall replacement is just going from the boat landing to the platform where they do the Epiphany cross toss, not doing the northern side there.
And the reason is because that land is owned by the property owners of the houses up on the top of the hill. It's not city-owned land, so
That sidewalk is?
the whole thing, the whole slope and the grass and all the way down is on, well, the sidewalk's an easement we have, but that is all, as opposed to the other side where it's all city property up to the road. That property is all homeowners. So the nightmare of getting signed off from all those. So that's why everybody asks, well, why wouldn't you, that's silly, why wouldn't you go around the whole thing? Well, there's a lot of reasons. Not only you'll probably double the project and stuff, but you got to individually negotiate with each homeowner. You're going to have to probably replace their docks. You're going to have to do a lot of things, so.
There's a house on the market right now that has a sign on the house side and the sign on the other.
Yeah,
side
they own that
because,
project. The city maintains it all because the agreement was made, obviously,
Yeah.
for being a park in the Vista, way long time ago, we got agreements that we maintain it, to make it consistent with the whole area and stuff, but it's not city property.
They
Half
talk
their
about,
docks are already falling in.
Yes,
I mean,
yes. Yes, and the thing is, if we took that side, we'd be the ones building all the new docks.
a couple of them talked about the
with-
cops and
What they're
kids.
holding
I'm
out
sorry.
for.
With that said, I see total down there 10.6 and adding another million for, what was the project that,
Hospital?
yeah, the hospital.
Right.
So 11.6, just as is
Right.
right now. So there's still a little gap to feed to
Right.
get up to the 12.8.
Well, you've already got the committed projects already. You've already got 2.1 million of projects that have been approved already. They're in the top left corner of the, so you've got about,
Okay, yeah. Those are not included.
Right now, to balance it, probably with the document we're gonna give them Thursday night is taking out the library and probably taking 500,000 out from, the additional potable water line replacements. That's probably where, since 5 of them said the hospital $1 million, that's to give them balanced, and again, they can slot and move things in and out of the slot. But 5 of them did it, so it's gotta be in there, so I have to move something out. So we'll move it out and then see what they want. Because again, this is an exercise too to do, to remind them, you can fund and do anything, but when you move it, you're gonna have to, which one of these important projects do you move out? Because you can't have them both.
Yeah, you can't have them all.
You can't have it both, and that's the tough part about, okay, now you gotta go back and move, and they're all important. I mean, the whole list are important. There's no, gravy projects, they're all important projects, so.
a couple of them talked about the Cops and Kids building, but I think there's still talk like how to use that land and stuff that's there, so.
And that's a fairly pricey one, I'm just.
Yeah, it's not only gonna be the new building that has now, a mini gym and for after-school things, it's not only gonna be that. It's a combination, and when you look at sustainability and their recommendations, they want a community hub. And the community hub is a lot of organizations help the community. This is a combined center that will add room and offices for many of the services that the disadvantaged community have to travel to Clearwater now, have to travel other places. So it's not only just you're replacing to have a building for Cops and Kids and the gym and the after school and all that. You're also going to have room, so it's a one-stop for the community that needs it there and other places in town. The office-based ability to bring the services that the county offers, bring those services. Like one of the things, I fought for was that dental clinic up there that's by the post office. Because when kids and stuff needed the dental, they'd have to go to the downtown, past downtown Clearwater was the nearest facility. And we had that piece of land. Unfortunately, we got extorted to buy it, but that's we had the piece of land there. You have the medical clinic that was the equivalent right next to it. And, we were able to afford to bring those dental services, which, one of the lacking thing for kids. And if you want kids being miserable and unruly, have them have dental problems that, how you get grouchy. Everybody gets with, not you, but, normal people. So, but this is another thing, that building, and we've got some services up here in the Housing Authority apartments next to the Cops and Kids, the little apartments that are converted to little small spaces where we try to bring services in to those buildings. But this would be a combination of a Cops and Kids youth center like now, and when you see in the recommendation from the committee, a building for a hub for resources for our local community. So that's the whole. It's a little more than it looks like in there.
They talked about pickleball courts, but I think I was trying to figure out if they do, where do they put them?
I thought that was already approved and something got done last year up there near the,
Well, they got to the last step and then they got turned down.
okay.
It was designed, set.
I just remember seeing something
The bids
about it.
went out and
Yeah.
and it went down at the end.
Other than that, there was some other smaller items, related to some fencing at some parks, basketball court Riverside, some other items that we try to get in the budget here. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention, 2 or 3 of them mention financing. I think with all these projects, seeing all these numbers, they mentioned bonds and getting bonding to try to help finance these projects, so. I don't know, I've done a little research on my own, on financing, if the city did decide to do something, and the interest rates aren't bad still yet, and my preference is always, the city just has the water plant debt and some fire truck leases, so we really don't have that much debt, which I like being not having that much debt, so. But there's a couple types of debt out there that, municipalities do, sometimes
Why were they exploring that option? Just to be able to do more
they
sooner?
wanted to do more. They think they wanted to hit everything. They've got so many projects and not enough ARPA money, and all these projects, they said, well, we need some more money, let's go out for financing.
It's like
So
kids
I've-
at Christmas time.
Yeah, right.
And he's bringing that up because I think that may be a main, if this goes further in meeting 2 or 3, this may not go further after he explains the circuit, but if it goes further, that'd be an item for you to weigh in on in your
Right.
August meeting. If it goes any further,
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, there's, with the municipalities, there's, and I called our financial advisor. He gave me just some verbal ideas on what rates are, but he still wants to get some, he's gonna call some banks. I called our bank, we bank with Chase, we got some interest rates from them. So the rates aren't too bad. They're between 3.2% and 3.25%. For a city, it's either you can do like a revenue note or something called a covenant to budgeted and appropriate issue. My thought, what I would like to do is, there's something called bank qualified issuances. The cities can do them, banks like them because they can earn interest, and they don't have to pay taxes on. But you can only do up to 10 million a year on these bank qualified issuances. So you can do up to about 10 million. There's advantages, there's no underwriting fees, there's a lot less issuance costs on these. And banks like them because they can earn interest tax exempt on them. So, and that's why they can offer a little bit lower interest rates. So that's the financing investment I sort of lean towards.
And those rates were for how long, Ron? Did you say 5 years?
Well, I had
5-year loan?
what I asked for, okay, what can you do for 5 years, $5 million? For
Okay.
$5 million, it was 3.25%. And maybe 5 years, $10 million, it was at 3.2%. And I went 8 years. And the reason I went 8 years, because my thought is to use the penny as the backing for the penny fund. But the penny fund the current penny is going to expire in 2030. I've got the feeling it'll still be renewed for another 10 years. It's been renewed, I think, 4 times so far. But I don't want to go any further than 2030 because not guaranteed. I don't want to do financing and something that's going to go, past, year 2030, so.
Bank
Well,
probably
to the
wouldn't
point
want
that
to
you had
do it
earlier
either.
about just basic infrastructure, I know everybody likes to be the board that says yes to everything. But then we have to administer all these projects, kind of like to your grant writer point, like, could the infrastructure of the city and the team handle all of the projects at once?
well, again, I think if we had the money, for instance, in a bond and the money, we would have to space starting them over the next 2 or 3 years, as long as we got the bonds for that. But we could dedicate the money to them and then just space, we'd have to work on spacing out doing them.
then
But I mean, like,
doesn't
could you do them all, like, immediately, or like, the way it is now, you have X number of dollars, and then in the future, like, when, there's already so much to do, and you have all this ARPA money,
Yeah.
like, would it be a couple years from now when you maybe
Well,
would
if they
consider
take up,
financing?
if they take up big projects, for instance, if they were to take fire, say they were to do it and do the whole 6 million of the fire, that would be just one project to administer. So if they pick 20 smaller projects, it may be a problem, but I think our steering would be, you need to pick the big projects in here, or the big things to deal with and stuff, and that'd just be administrating building a fire station. And that's an easy one that if we needed to hire somebody temporarily to oversee, you could temporarily get somebody to oversee that and not have that effect. So again, if they do it, we'll recommend, it's not going to be the 20 smaller projects. It may be some of the big ticket items. And I think that was one of the
Well,
things,
that
the
was-
fire department you were thinking
Well,
of.
that's why I brought in the Mark said, what, the fire station's 6.5 million. We've already got about 1.5 million between the county funding and the cell tower money. We need 5 million. Let's get this fire station done. It's 50 years old. It's not hurricane resistant. Whenever the hurricanes come, they've got to evacuate. Let's just do a $5 million note and get this station done, do it over 5 years. The principal and interest would be about a little over $1 million a year, and it's still leaving money. It's about 33% of the expenditure, so it's still leaving some money in the penny fund for other projects if we just did the 5 years. You could go out 8 years and it'd be a little bit less, payments a year. But your point is correct, though, that especially with ARPA, we've got 2.5 years from right now to
To spend
commit
that
this
money,
money. It's
yeah.
got to be in the form, so it's got to be out for bid, and we get that contract and a purchase order. So 2.5 years from now, we have to have purchase orders for all these projects. Hopefully some are done by then, but yes. I think sometimes they've talked about, you can buy project managers to help, and we've done that in the past, to help monitor these projects. And that might be an alternative, to get some project manager in here to help.
No, I was just, then you have all that money earmarked for project, and then you have more headcount to add, which we've been hesitant to want
Right.
to add and whatnot, yeah.
So that's why I started looking into the financing. I just, well, the rates aren't, I thought, you're seeing, well, mortgage rates up in 5.5%, so, but I think maybe it's because it's bank qualified. I'm still looking at 3.2, 3.25%.
Plus the fact that the banks get it
They-
tax-free.
You're right, they're tax exempt.
Interesting.
But I can only do up to 10 million as far as doing the tax exempt, and I want to be careful because I know we do have the fire truck this year, and that was tax exempt, so you got to take into that account, so.
Okay.
I really wouldn't want to do, I'd probably say, okay, I can do up to 8 million this year if I was going to do something else in this fiscal year, 2022. In 2023, we don't have another fire truck plan, so we could do closer to 10 million. Plus, the other thing about, you
That
have to
was
go.
10 million per year?
It's 10 million per year, it's tax exempt. Plus, another thing is, if we just do 10 million and under, you don't have to go out for referendum vote on it for financing. So I think that's my finance spiel there.
I'm shocked that the paperwork or the fees are less with that type of bond with the bank.
You don't have the underwriting fees, you got the attorneys, you'll have the bond
That's the
attorney.
thing. So my company, when we bought our facility in Clearwater, we did an industrial revenue bond, and the income from our loan is tax-free, and it was a great rate for us. It was a good deal. But the volumes of books we had from the attorneys that cost us tens of thousands of dollars
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
Well,
was a shock.
well, usually, the bond attorney would be probably about 15, well, unless he's gone up, but it was $15,000 last time we did. Financial advisor, about 15,000, city attorney, about the common number, 15,000, and the banks will have some fees. So sometimes it's run between $40,000, $50,000 for the total bank fees. So I'm not sure what yours were, but.
It was,
One other question about the meeting.
I don't remember thinking it's
The
a long
meeting
time.
the other night, this two-part question. Was there any discussion on the millage rate? And when do we have to declare the maximum mill?
Tuesday.
This This-
It's on the agenda. What it is,
Tuesday after, not this coming Tuesday.
This coming Tuesday.
26.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
And that's, the declaration is.
The highest, the
Maximum.
maximum.
It's per state, yeah.
Which is funny, the only talk, there was no talk, in fact, the only talk, and I know one commissioner that's a reducing some. Three had really no comments on it of dealing with just saying, boy, we don't have enough money to do these things. How can we lower and we're trying to do these. And one actually said about, I know it's not going to be, and I wouldn't bring it forward but this would almost be circumstances to increase it a little bit and get some more to do these projects, which they won't do.
They won't.
That's political suicide.
I'll
But
give
how
you the
they help
side
that
bet.
is by not lowering it.
Yes.
The recommendation of the board, don't lower it. Again, you don't know what's next year, you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know anything
Another
else.
shot at that next year.
So I
maybe.
think your recommendation is strongly going to be listened to. Again, I could change Thursday night, next Thursday when they come back but there was little or no talk. There wasn't any talk about the reducing part. Because again, that's in the equation too, because in one of those worksheets I give you, if you reduce it, then one of those things of money that you want to distribute,
Gotta go down,
you have to subtract. I told them, anytime you do, you can reduce it all you want, but this column here, you don't have 630 no more. You have you lost $110,000. So I think that one's going to be listened to.
Just for the benefit of everyone here, what did the assessments come in at, Ron? Assess rate, like 14 something. We were
Final
talking.
one was.
Oh, 14.02. The percentage increase?
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah. And the CRA is 14.61. And now there's a fire district, that 10% portion outside the city we're talking about, there's a
Yeah.
fire district rate. Well, that's at 14%. The county wants to meet again and see, we submit our budget for the fire and stuff. They want to come and see they want to talk to us again and see, they want to reduce the millage rate, is what the fire district wants to do. So they want to see if our expenses we gave them in April are still lining up to be the same. I think they're trying to say, well, maybe our expenses less, and maybe we can roll back the rate in the fire district outside the city there. I want to tell them, well, no, I think that we're going to be building a building here and stuff. We're going to need that 650,000.
Good, good. I gotta put on the calendar for this next meeting. Big dot.
The Tuesday or the DR?
Tuesday, yeah.
The DR 420 is on there. I've also got a budget resolution, but that's stuff that has come up during the year. Mostly stuff, and it's projects have come in costing higher. So there's 4 or 5 alone on projects that have come in. City clerk building, it's come in, almost 1.6 million over. So we need more money. So we've got to increase the budget for those. So I got a budget resolution on Tuesday night and the DR 420, which is a state required form that's got to be the state by the end of
Did most of you read
July.
about the Largo City Hall? That was
I
in
didn't
this-
read it, no.
So they're building a new, they needed one for a long time, they're building a new one. And they went on the premise of a $50 million building and went out for the quotes, 82 million. That, to show you
How
the example
bad
of
you
people
really
talking about here, why these things going up and stuff, did you not estimate right? Did you not, know the times is that does not, we didn't estimate it wrong, but yeah, their $50 million, that was a stretch to really get to them to be able to build for $50 million just came in now is that, I mean, they'll probably have to cut things, they'll probably have to reduce but it came in. And they did the estimate of 50 million, I think, 6 to 8 months ago or something.
No, didn't update
It was within a year when it was estimated to be a $50 million building. It's jumped to 82 with present day supply, bidding and stuff like that. That's what all cities in the state and probably over the company, at least here, it's not unusual when these things come 300,000 over. I wipe my hands, oh, thank goodness. Whereas, in old days, I'd have been going nuts. But if you can get 250, 300 over and stuff these days, you're thanking things for. I've never seen a time like that, but that's these
We're
times.
making it plusher and.
Well, they did this building, and they had at Largo, it was a $60 million bond issue. Now they're looking to do another, I think it's like a bank qualified to cover the difference from the 60 to the 80,000. So they're looking for more financing to cover the difference now for that building.
Wow. So Tuesday night is the normal board, and then Thursday is,
The second budget work session with the commission.
try to put those.
I say we got seven.
Those should be interesting.
We got 7 of the department heads that came before you. Will be coming for them just like that. And then we'll be getting back into.
This is really.
Then we'll be back into this.
Okay. All right. So where are we?
That's it that I have for number 1.
Unless you got some more questions, I think that's all. I just wanted to get into that, the reason they're mentioning the financing and stuff. I'm getting feelers
Give
out there
you
right now.
congratulations that you went into that meeting with a draft, otherwise meeting wouldn't have, it would have gone 92 different directions like herding cats. Excellent. I have no questions. Anybody, any questions? Cassie, do you have a question? No? Cassie. You were on your board, Cassie.
I know, I have a way of doing that.
Okay. Next item
that
on the
numbers thing,
agenda, so, no questions. Amendment to Budget Advisory Committee Rules of Procedure, the time change. She's back. We didn't move on. Okay, the time change of this meeting. So,
So what we discussed the last meeting, moving the time from 2 PM to 9 AM. Set the third Thursday.
okay. I want to ask the question again. Does it cause anybody here problems? I always hate when you hear 2 weeks after this meeting that, it's gonna cause me speak now if moving that time causes problems.
For me, the afternoon's always gonna be better.
Yeah, me too. But I mean, I'll make it work for sure, if that's what we need to do. I think that, what are the attendance requirements for staying on the board? Like, are there any, or is that, I just want to make sure before we move it for someone, make sure they're committed to stay on the board is my big thing.
If
Like,
you miss 2 out of 3 consecutive meetings without cause or without
so
prior
with cause, it's
approval.
fine. I just want to
Yeah.
make sure we weren't going to run until we changed it for someone and then they weren't on the board anymore, and then we're all wondering why we're there at 9 a.m.
Is that, did, or, didn't Melody want to?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Melody, it was principally Melody's requested a couple meetings, and we talked about it last meeting. I did my little whining and moaning about 9 o'clock in the
Yeah.
morning. But, that was whining and moaning. I'm a bigger person.
But I would think if it's gonna cause any members of this board additional problems to move it, it really needs to be thought about. If it helps one but causes 2 more problems, to me, that's not reason, because it's important to have all your variety of inputs are important. I don't want a lesser propensity of having all of you here with a move. A move is to ensure you are here, all of you can be here more, not to be less. And again, we can take,
We can
Asking
defer
the
this.
question.
we can defer, we don't have to.
Before we go to vote or defer.
We can defer
I just
it.
want to
You
make
can,
sure.
think
if
about it some
anybody-
more.
If anybody's it's causing ache, tell me.
Well, my only thought, and this was after the last meeting, is she accepted a position on this board, and now we're gonna change the time of the board because she's sitting on it? That doesn't, it seems,
And I'm only doing it if we're as a group going to only do it if it causes no issue.
well, it won't cause me any issue. I may have, like I said, look downstream if I have any appointments I need to change. want them
Those are
to
kind of
change.
one-off.
Yeah, but other than that, it's not gonna cause me any personal
But
problem.
2 members are saying that it's better for
Well, it's
them in
less
the
ideal for
afternoon.
me, but ache is a strong word. Like, it's just, yeah, afternoon is better. Mornings are very busy for me. So my only concern was just, I didn't want to move it if then frequently it was like the whole day is a problem for her. Because I can always be here in the afternoon. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's more what I was thinking. I just wanted to make sure it was a,
But she said afternoon too, right, Cassie? I mean,
Right, yeah,
Oh.
afternoon for me is always gonna be,
better.
yeah, the morning could have a potential, challenge, but I wouldn't know until.
I say we defer it and maybe even ask to
hate
make
to
sure,
defer
like,
things.
is the reason why, if Melody's missed a lot of these meetings so far because of it's in the afternoon, then I would want to talk more about it. But if it's because she's been gone all day and couldn't have made it either way, and then just when she can be here, the mornings are better for her, maybe not. That's kind of was my thinking.
She didn't share any information over email, okay, so we don't really have anything to go on.
We could ask her
Maybe
at the next
defer-
one.
ask her.
Yeah.
Okay,
That sounds good.
I'm proposing that we defer it, I hate to defer any decision. But I'll defer it to the
Well, when
next-
someone who's a important piece of the equation isn't here, I think it's appropriate to defer it, really. Like, because we can ask her a question about it.
Good point.
See, this is, I was gonna say, this is an afternoon meeting? Okay, so, we'll defer it to the next.
Yes, that's fine.
okay.
Okay. I think unless the agenda was altered at all,
You did my staff, you
I got
did
it.
the one I had under staff comments.
public comments, staff comments, we covered. Board, any other? I'd just say, if anybody's free, like Tuesday, or is Thursday also at 6:30?
Yes.
Yes.
These will.
Or you can watch it from the comfort of your home. Remember, we're live, we're broadcasting live on
Be out of town.
YouTube
I'll
Live, Facebook Live, and on the TV station that does it.
I turned it on.
Up there,
You
Mike.
can do it in the comfort of your home, which I would recommend in the auditorium. The comfort of your home, have it on a computer screen.
Comfort of
As long as it
pajamas.
doesn't go to 4 in the morning.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd suggest you'd watch it from
See
home.
you.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if there was, and it's a work session, so it's no comments from the, so
Right.
there's not an opportunity for comments at a work session. deadline for the thing. So that's why I would encourage the watching from the, or like I say, the next day or the day after, it's always available on to watch the rerun. So
They're about seeing it live. It's like, watch the Super Bowl live, not the next day on film. It'll be like, this will be like, you don't want to see sausage being made.
well, yeah, you'll go
This
back
is-
and watch the meeting Tuesday and look at that portion of it, which is most of probably the last 3/4 of the meeting. Because like I say, y'all did a good enough job. That first part flew.
So the next meeting, that implies that we deferred it. It will be at 2:00.
2
On
o'clock.
the 18th.
Yes,
Yes.
August 18th at 2 PM. And I will
Future
go put an
agenda
email
items.
to
Again,
her.
the budget is a living thing. It'll go more and more. Anything else? We're good?
Nothing for myself.
No.
Good. Okay. With that said, at 3:24, call the adjournment to the meeting.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you. Anybody want to stay till 10:00 and do this?
Yeah,
We
don't
have
watch
homework.
that meeting that went to the 3:22
No,
6
no, no.
a.m. Don't watch that meeting.
It's a little painful.
That'll make you worry about your community.
Am I good, Frank?
Those meetings are painful.
So hard. I mean, I'm glad everybody has a voice, really.
Well, I am too, and I have no problem with that.
Were you at the meeting?
Not this last one.
That was mostly on the hotel, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that,
But,
and
but I texted Irene when I knew they were gonna extend the meeting till 1. I texted Irene, I said, look, I'm still up. Pizza Hut is open and Jim's is still open. Do you want me to have something delivered there, or I'll go bring it? And she asked, and they go, no, we're gonna go at 1. Keep going, right? So when I heard in the morning she had texted me, I woke up and there was a text, we just got done, it was like 3:20 something.
yeah. I mean, a lot of passionate folks.
Well,
that's
they
for
are.
sure.
Well, Pizza Hut's still open then?
Y'all have a great month.
Yeah.
Not at that point, it wasn't. Yeah. I'll scramble you some eggs and bring them in.
So are you up watching it?